number of different things because Warrior fans, go figure, we're all up in arms and they're
Well, because
trying
they
to
were affected by it.
they're
Yeah.
trying to stop the Dubs from like no, settle down. First of all, part of that whole thing is we welcome in ESPN 1320 Kings Insider James Ham into the conversation. What's going on, James?
What's going on, guys?
As we welcome him in, first of all, it doesn't affect homegrown guys. You can still do what you need to do for guys that you drafted and developed and things of that nature. What it really does is it kind of hinders um, teams from going out and getting guys outside of that realm. But I looked at it like this. Draymond Green was another one who was upset about it for reasons I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either.
Yeah,
I'll save it for the pod. Like, okay. All right. I
make it
don't know
make
what you're
sense.
upset.
But I think about it like this. So you got Lacob, you got Steve Ballmer, who tax really doesn't matter to them. It really doesn't. Steve Ballmer famously paid Dolan 80 to $100 million to just get out of my face.
Mm-hmm. For the forum.
He's like, just get out of my face so I can do what I need to do. Dolan thought he was sticking it to him. He was like, well, how much is it going to cost for you to go away? Not $100 million. He ain't paying that, dog. He ain't paying that. Here's $100 million. Get the hell out of my face. So when you have guys with that type of money, how is a Vivek supposed to compete with that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand, like, he's a billionaire in his own right, but if Ballmer wants to go $400 million over the cap and pay the tax, he's going to do it. Like, how do you compete with that?
Yeah. There has to be disadvantages somewhere.
Right.
And James, we're talking about the new collective bargaining agreement and some of the changes that are going into place that will affect some of these high tax paying teams, including changes to, or really, I think it's the elimination of the taxpayer mid-level exception.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. Look at what the Warriors have done even this year. I mean, you can go back to last season where they constructed their entire bench off of these guys. And it's really, it's the Lakers who have done this, like who have been the worst of the worst at this, where they get. I mean, you can go all the way back to Karl Malone and Mitch Richmond and like all of Gary Payton, all of these guys going and finishing their careers with great teams, thinking that they're going to go win a chip. But even if you look at this year, the Warriors went out and signed Dante DiVincenzo. And his contract is, I think it's a little under $5 million. It's like 4.9. And the tax money they're paying for Dante DiVincenzo is something like $20 million for a $5 million player. So they're paying that guy basically the equivalent of $25 million. He's just not getting it. And it's going to a team like the Kings, who got, $29 million in luxury tax money from the other teams this year. So I think that there's always going to be ways to tweak the CBA to come out with different ideas of competitive fairness and balance. And then there's going to be really smart general managers who figure out ways around it every single step of the way. And so this is just another way of tightening it up, but it won't take long before these teams figure out ways to get around it. And at the end of the day, if a player is willing to play for pennies on the dollar, then that's what they're going to do. And, you hope that you can slow it down or change some things. But, again, look at where the Lakers were at the beginning of the season. Look at the team that they've created now. And some of that was from help and some of that was from the buyout market. Those are things that, like, you're going to have a really difficult time regulating and telling a player he can't go play in city X because, you don't want him to, basically. And so I don't know. It's interesting. And there are a few things in this that will help the Kings as far as a collective bargaining agreement. They're increasing what you can extend a player for from 120% of their final year contract to 140%. I don't think that's enough still for the Kings to re-sign Domantas Sabonis this summer. But at least it puts it closer to where, if you have a guy on a budget contract, like a Domantas Sabonis, it really is an unfair thing that the Kings can't just go out and sign him to a contract that's worthy of his value. And, and so there are ways around it, but the Kings would have to get creative.
But it's scary. Well, there are ways around it. It's just scary. You have to, like, he's got to become a free agent. Like, that's how it works. The numbers for Domas, I believe, were right now he can sign 4 for 111. With the new collective bargaining agreement going into place, that 4 becomes 121. I'm not sure what the number is. I think it's 4 and 160, but I don't know for certain that that's the number. 4 and 160, 170, somewhere around there, I think is what he's eligible for when he becomes a free agent.
Yeah. These are, again, there are finer nuances to the salary cap. So I'll just tell you that there is a way that the Kings can sign Domantas Sabonis this summer. And it really does depend on how much money he's really going to want to take. And so basically what you can do is you can do what's called a renegotiate and extend and extension. So we saw it this year with Miles Turner, where they went in and they gave Miles Turner an additional sum of money on his current contract and then signed an extension based off of that contract. So Sabonis makes $19.4 million this year. He does have 2 different mechanisms in place where he can get a bonus. So this year, I think it's $2.4 million for him this year, and it's split evenly between an All-Star and an All-NBA bid, right? And he has the same thing for next year. So while his contract is really for next season, it's $19.4 million. His he does have bonus money that he can get up to like $22 million. So it depends on if the league deems that as like money that is easily obtainable, a goal that is easily obtainable for him or not, whether that will count against the Kings salary cap going into the season. But this is why I bring it up. If the Kings just go, look, you make $19.4 million next season. What if we go back in and renegotiate your contract for next season and give you a $5.6 million raise and put your salary for this coming season at $25 million? And then you hit him with an extension from that $25 million with the 140%. So that would put his starting salary, just so people know, we did the math yesterday. It would put the starting salary up at $35 million. You could sign him to a 5-year deal. It'd be roughly $211 million over 5 years, and that might be enough. Now, this only works if the Kings have salary cap space, which they do this summer. And again, I bring up the All-Star and all that stuff because it would be easier if Sabonis' salary was already at $22 million basically on the books for next season, and you only had to come up with $3 million in extra cap space to tack onto his deal. And I mean, again, the Kings could go up even higher than that, if they wanted to, but you have to be honest about the player and what you're getting. And, he's great. But how much is he worth it to your franchise and all that stuff? And, I don't know, maybe they can get it done. And it would push his overall deal closer to like $250 million if you included his salary for next season. But there are ways that they can go out and actually retain him this summer. It's just going to be whether, again, his agent is pushing for a super max and wants to hold out and wait till the salary cap goes up, and then his contract would be a whole lot more than it is today.
So, and he gets super max availability because of the All NBA, correct?
Yeah. But he'd have to make, I believe he'd have to make All NBA next year as well. In order to get Supermax.
As much as I love Sabonis and think that he's great, that'd be risky. Like if the Kings presented that option that you just laid out this offseason, and the agent's like, let's wait and see if he gets All NBA next season. I mean, at that point, we're talking about, what would you say, James? We're talking like 220 to 250. It's not like he's.
Oh, no, it would go way higher because this is Sabonis' third contract. So he would have a contract that maxed out in the 55, 56, $58 million range the final years. Yeah, so like the NBA contracts just keep going up, and a Supermax contract is based off of 30% of the NBA salary cap. So a normal max extension for a player is 25%, right? So if a player has an All NBA nod, or they're in the MVP, like I think if they win the MVP, or like there's these specific rules that fall into place. If they hit those triggers, then a supermax contract can put you up to 30% of the salary cap. Now, 30% of the salary cap today, you can do the 30%. So what is it? 39 million bucks, because the salary cap is around a little over 130 million. But 2 years from now, the projections are the salary cap will be 150. So 150 million, and then it could go up from there. So now we're looking at a starting salary of 45 million, and that's big. And so, yeah, the supermax is crazy. But I would also you're in a small market. You know that you are a team that's built slightly differently, that you don't have superstars. You have stars and, guys that have superstar potential maybe still, but like realistically, they might be a step below superstar status. And can you build a team if everyone takes max money? And no, you can't. We talk about the Warriors, why the Warriors are so good. The Warriors are so good because there was a loophole that they basically, Steph Curry got hurt coming out of his rookie scale deal, and he signed a 4-year, $48 million contract. If it wasn't for that, if he would have gone for the big money, they would have never been able to build the team the way that they have. Just wouldn't have happened.
Kevin Durant.
Yeah, it wouldn't have happened.
Wasn't there a quirk in the CBA just that summer or something that Durant
the CBA
signed?
went up, but the CBA went up at the same time Steph was playing on the greatest bargain in the history of professional sports.
Yeah, that
Steph erupted after he signed the contract.
Exactly. And they weren't, the salary cap went up straight. So like the salary cap jumped from, it was like 70 to 98 million or something, or 95 million. And it didn't taper up. So the NBA kept saying, hey, why don't we take it, we'll do it in a couple of stages. And the players union said, no. So it opened this door for teams like the Warriors to have $40-something million in cap space.
I believe that opened the Timofey Mozgov door, if I'm not mistaken.
Timofey.
It was the outrageous year of contracts. One other quick note that's just worth here mentioning, since we're talking about Kings, this obviously is going to have an impact, at least on one King. There is going to be a 65-game minimum put in place for postseason award consideration. Now, All NBA is moving to positionless. That's another footnote. The thing about the 65 games, though, that's not in place this year. When they make the announcements here in a couple of weeks about the All NBA teams, it's not with the 65-game note in place. However, I wonder, with it just being out there, how many voters take it into consideration. Dame Lillard, we know, is not going to hit the 65-game marker. I don't believe Steph Curry is going to hit the 65-game marker. I believe he's going to be, if not like top end of 50s, I think he's actually low 60s. So, but point being, though, neither one of those guys is going to hit the 65-game marker. And I wonder, even though the rule isn't in place, the fact that it's out there, I wonder how many voters keep that in mind when they vote for All NBA this year, because I got to believe that favors De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, so Curry is going to play, it looks like he'll play roughly 57. At this point, he's played 53. Wow. Yeah, wow. And like, let's be honest, like, people want to give Damian Lillard All NBA. Like, 58? Man, his team is bad, flat out bad. Like, that's not a good team at all. And you don't typically see players make an All NBA roster when their team's that bad. And, we can also talk about some of the other guys.
Luka.
Yeah, well, no, some of the other guys, so that like have some issues this year. So Kyrie has the issue that not only did it not work out in Brooklyn, but it's not worked out at all in Dallas. And then he had the whole opening of the season where he was not playing and all that stuff. We have the Ja Morant situation that is gray and fuzzy, and I don't like, again, I hope that there's other rules like that put in place. So like in the NBA,
65 either. He's at 59 right now.
Yeah. So Major League Baseball, right? They have the rule, which I love, that if you get suspended for PEDs, even if it's, game 20 of the season, you come back in game 100. Number one, you're not eligible for any postseason awards at all. And then on top of that, you're not eligible for the playoffs, I don't believe. So I would like to see the league, when they have a situation like some of these situations where you've like been suspended long term from the league for doing something, that you're not eligible. And I don't know that they will, but I certainly think it's possible. And also, like, the other thing I'll note is that for whatever reason, every time the NBA decides that Domantas Sabonis is a Western Conference Player of the week or month or whatever it might be, that they always put him as a forward/center. They don't just put him as a center, even though I can almost guarantee you that Sabonis has not played more than like maybe 5 minutes all year outside of the center position. But it's possible that he does get in as a forward on the All-NBA roster as opposed to just as a center.
Yeah, because they're going to get Anthony Davis in there. Especially the way the Lakers are playing. They're going to get Anthony Davis in. Anthony Davis has played very... I wonder, what's Anthony Davis's number?
That's good.
My guess is it's 50.
50? No way. Anthony Davis? My goodness, you're pretty close. It's 52.
That's all he's played?
End at 56. If he plays every game, it'll end at 56.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he ain't going to make it either. Ooh, this is going to be some interesting All-NBA lineups moving forward.
We're going to be getting them Drew Holiday.
Man.
Remember what he did against the Cavs last year to get like $250,000?
Oh, yeah.
Tip off, foul, out for the rest of the
night. Yeah.
Well, remember, we had the Buddy Hield situation where Buddy missed a free throw in the last game of the season and missed his money.
Story's funny every time.
I love it. Oh, man, he was like, you could see he did not want to go to the free throw line at all. And then he breaks a first one, and then it's like, oh, no. And then he tried to hunt out fouls the rest of the game because he knew he'd drop below the 75%, was 85%. Yeah. Oh, what a mess.
The officials knew, so they just didn't blow the whistle. They're just like, nah.
Yeah, and the Kings were probably like, buddy, it'd be like that sometimes.
It'd be like that.
It'd be that way.
It'd be like that.
It'd be like that sometimes.
The thing about that is, I would have gave it to him if I was the Kings.
That's cute.
Would have gave it to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what?
Somebody's that close.
No, you didn't make it.
Goodwill.
No, Goodwill with Shavano?
Well, no, I'm not talking about him. Specifically in that situation. I'm talking about, say, if De'Aaron Fox had that same thing this year.
Yeah. I'd give it to De'Aaron too. Yeah. I wouldn't give it to Shavano. Shavano, you're just gonna have to starve. All right, Hammer. We've put it off as long as we can. Let's start with Mike Brown last night. You were there. What were your thoughts on Mike Brown's post-game press conference following that frustrating loss to the San Antonio Spurs?
Yeah, I just wrote on it. It'll go up anytime the Kings beat. I get it. I'm with him fully. What the Kings do at home versus what they do on the road, it doesn't make any sense. The fact that they can be, a top 9 defensive team on the road, and they're 29th in the league at home, that they allowed teams like San Antonio to come in, and I think there is something to what the Kings are saying. Like, the players and the coaches are saying the same thing. It's kind of like, at home we ride the crowd and we get all excited and we score a bunch of points, but we're not focusing on the offense. We get too much into flow of scoring and having a good time that we forget to go in, or we just don't manage the defensive end. But I thought Mike was on spot on. He called his team soft at home. They absolutely are. There's no question that they are. And the fact that they are 24-14 on the road and they're 10 games over 500 on the road and have a better record there than they do at home, that doesn't make any sense. What are they, 23-17, I think, at home? And that just doesn't make any sense. And this team is too good to have mistakes like this late in the season, where you let a team who had not only are they not trying to win, they didn't even have any of their players. Like they walked at like Champagne had like a career high, or however you say his name, because it changed
And Penny,
like it changed a couple of times during the game how that was pronounced. Um, God bless Scott Moak, who has to call some strange names from
oh,
players that you've never seen before. That guy had a career high of 12 coming into the game. I don't even know what he finished with, but I know he had 22 at the half. Like,
26. He
It
finished
didn't
with
help that
26.
Mark kept saying the champagne is flowing. Like I don't think that helped anybody either.
yeah, well, it was. I mean, it certainly was. So like I get it, and what people need to realize that Mike Brown has made his career as a defensive minded coach. There were times where he had the Cavs. I think they finished third, fourth, and seventh, like in a 3-year period. I mean, in a 5-year period, and they had never like slipped below 11th in defensive rating. And to see a team that just can't play defense, but can on the road, they can in the fourth quarter, and that's the problem. Like when you say, oh well, maybe this team just can't play defense. It's like, well, then how can you do it for these spurts? And so I think Mike is really like he's frustrated. He's embarrassed. Last season he had the Warriors, and we can talk about like how the Warriors are a championship team and all that stuff. But Draymond Green missed like 40 games, and Klay Thompson was just coming back from massive knee surgery and wasn't Klay Thompson. And like you can go down the list. Steph Curry has never been a great defender, and they were the number 2 rated defense in the NBA, and that was because Mike Brown had these guys playing together. And so even I thought that was an interesting question about like scheme. Like, will you have to change something? And he said, "This is the same scheme I've been doing for years and years and years, and it always works, and it's just not working now." And so, like, I get the frustration.
One of the things that was going through my head with all of this is hearing you talk and what we talked about during the day is this more so than in the actual playoffs may be a sign of inexperience in being in there, knowing how to play in these type of situations. For all intents and purposes, we know that the 2 seed was out there. But you got home court. You pretty much got the division. You're the 3 seed. You still got like a week and a half left in the season. How you play in those situations? Like I'm thinking of somebody like De'Aaron, or like, damn, like am I going all out, or am I conserving it? Because people say you got to be ready for the playoffs. Like that indecisiveness of how to play in those situations that teams that routinely are in the playoffs know how to manage those situations. That may have reared its ugly head yesterday in that game because they didn't come ready to play. I didn't feel like I felt like they just kind of out there on Friday and Sunday, like not really sure what to do and how to approach these type of games. And maybe they got the game yesterday got their attention, and they have an idea of how they want to close out the season and how they want to go about it. But I don't get paid to do this, like I don't get paid to play in the games or nothing like that. But even yesterday was like, yeah, the Kings play. I'm gonna watch it. Like I want them to win. I'm just ready for the playoffs. That could have been a sign of inexperience, how that game went out yesterday.
I can agree with that, but I can also tell you that if you keep telling the media that you want to get to 50 wins, then you don't lay an egg. Like if you really are focused and getting ready, and I mean, Mike Brown ran those guys like 37 minutes last night. That's not what was expected at all. And I'm going to pull up here in the chatty house. Michael said that he thinks that embarrassed is a little strong of a word. If you don't think Mike Brown was embarrassed when his mentor came in there with a G League squad and dropped 140 on his defense, then I don't know if you've watched Mike Brown like press conferences this year. He was embarrassed, and rightfully so. And he doesn't know how to make it work. And he even talked about like it's not scheme, it's that these players have to reach deeper and play harder. I mean, that's it. That's what they have to do. Like calling a team soft or embarrassed, him being embarrassed. Like I would much rather think that my coach was embarrassed than him go out and publicly call my team soft. So like those are strong terms no matter what, but Like that's where we are. And I get the inexperienced thing, but like you're 78 games into a season. Like you should be experienced enough to know like how to step up against a really bad team that has no interest in winning and beat them. Like once the ball's in the air, like the players decide the game. Like the coaches can only do so much to like reel it in. A coach will never call a timeout and say, "Hey, I need you guys to miss the next 6 points because we really want Victor Wembanyama." That's not how it goes. Once you make the game plan and the players are out there, it's game on and everyone's got pride and everyone's playing to win. But the fact that the Kings led a team that, like, we want to talk about inexperienced, that team right there was inexperienced, and they beat them. They beat the Kings.
San Antonio hit some shots too. They hit some shots. There was some shot making. I think some of that goes into the fact that the Kings let them get comfortable and feel good about themselves to be in those positions late in the game where I just remember towards the end of the game, I forgot my man's name. I'm not even going to butcher it. I was out there sizing up Kevin Huerter and doing all this, hit the KD hesitation pull. Like, bro, what are you doing? But the Kings had let these guys get into a comfort zone where they felt that was okay. They felt good about being in those situations. And any of these guys on an NBA level, they've been 20-point per game scorers somewhere. So if you let them feel good about themselves at some point, you're going to see shot making like that. Doug McDermott, 30 points last night. Like you let him start to feel good about his shot.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the dude's nickname is Dougie McBuckets. Yeah. I mean, if there's one dude on the team that can hit 3-pointers and you don't defend that one guy and let him beat you, that's exactly what happened. Like
they were, I tweeted out though, they were playing the Spurs on Hall of Fame level. Spurs were hitting some shots. They were hitting some shots last night. I was like, come on, man. That Trey Jones layup at the end looked like Jordan in 91 against long arm Sam Perkins. I said, what? Damn.
So Sam's long arm coming up, and I just switch side. You lying?
Big smooth, right?
We'll come back. James is here with us. We'll talk more Kings basketball. We'll talk more about what was said in the post game and what we expect to see tomorrow when the Sacramento Kings take on the Pelicans in New York. in New Orleans. And based on what we've learned over the weekend, well, it's probably going to be a better defensive effort. We'll talk about that with James when we return here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. How was your weekend, Hammer?
Busy. I was down there most of the time.
Oh, yeah. There was practice on Saturday, right?
Saturday practice. Yep.
Yeah, I saw you post something. I was like, whoa.
Yep. Drove down for practice, and then we had the early game yesterday.
Did you make it to dinner on Friday?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I made dinner before the game. Yep. It was good. Definitely a nice little weekend. I mean, it's just busy. Like this time of year, you just typically we're waiting for the season to end, and then you take a week off and start hitting draft stuff really hard. But that's just not the way.
You get fired usually.
Yeah. Oh no, you're right. The first couple of days are like whoever gets fired, and then we have the post-season press conference with the GM and all that stuff. Yeah. It'll be nice not to worry about a coaching search this summer and all that entails.
Ramsey really is the spelling police in the in the chatty house. He will cuss you out for spelling a name wrong. Google is your friend, as Ramsey would say. That's a good question. Ham, what did you think of Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania?
Your thoughts?
No. What did you think of Roman Reigns holding on to the title?
I have no idea.
Okay.
No idea. I will be going to see John Wick this afternoon with my youngest.
Is that still in the theater?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think it just came out.
No. I didn't.
You didn't watch Creed 3?
No, I did, but I also was watching women's basketball all weekend. I caught one men's game, and then WrestleMania occupied like 9 hours.
I forgot you don't stay up late.
Are you caught up on Snowfall?
I'm not caught up on Snowfall. I'm not caught up on anything.
Jeez, what does this guy do all day?
That's funny.
All right. Yep.
Nah, that's a lot. That's a lot going on in your weekend. I don't know when you're going to see Creed 3. Well, you'll see it.
I'll see it this weekend. I'll see it this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend.
I'll
I was
see it
about to
this
say
weekend for sure.
the play-in week.
No, I'll see it. I can't see it Friday. I have plans Friday. I'll see it Saturday night. I'll absolutely see it Saturday.
I need to go back and I don't think I've seen any of the Creeds at this point.
Oh, they're very good. They're on HBO Max right now.
Okay.
Very, very good. Very good.
John Wick 4 is fun, but it's almost 3 hours long. That's what I'm not looking forward to.
Almighty. Have you already seen it? Oh, you
No.
were reading John Wick 4 is fun.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. That's what
I
someone.
love them John Wicks. I like the movie too. I didn't seen a couple of them. That's cool. Boy, oh boy.
Someone told me it all started with someone killing his dog. I was like, I ain't watching. I can't do it.
Well, it's more than that. It's like the dog. I mean, yes, it was a dog, but the dog had sentimental value as well.
Well, all dogs have sentimental value.
Yeah, but that one had more sentimental value.
Did we talk about Keanu Reeves' career enough?
Do we talk about it? Like,
I mean, he's got the Matrix and now this John Wick thing. Like, damn, bro.
yeah, but he
That's
also
kinda
has
long-term.
Bill and Ted's, and he has
Speed.
Parenthood. He was incredible in Parenthood.
Moneyball was a classic as well. Not Moneyball, Hardball.
Okay, settle down.
You need to stop.
I don't know. I feel like we discussed Keanu Reeves an appropriate amount of time.
Point Break. Point Break is probably.
Who has two
Franchises.
that rival that? I'm not saying he's the only one, but like
So
some of the other guys.
John Wick and what was the other? Oh, The Matrix.
Does what's his name? Bourne.
Jason
The
Bourne.
Bourne
Matthew
Ultimate.
Damon,
Yeah,
Matt
Matt Damon. The Bourne Ultimatum and
That's only one.
But there's 4.
Rocky with Rambo
Bournes.
and Rocky.
You mean Sylvester Stallone?
I mean Sylvester Stallone with Rambo and Rocky.
Yeah.
You got Harrison Ford with both Star Wars and Indiana Jones.
Yep. That's probably bigger than, right? The Matrix and
Yeah. But look what we're talking about.
Yeah, no,
and
that's
Keanu
up
doesn't
there.
get talked like that.
Yeah, it's up there.
Oh yeah, and then you have
Tom Cruise.
Mission
Yeah.
Tom
Impossible,
Cruise.
Top Gun.
Yeah, Mission Impossible. It's a good call. That's a good
Oh yeah,
call.
Chris Pratt. That's a good call too, Alex, with Jurassic Park and the Guardian of the Galaxy movies.
Who's that
Okay.
again?
Chris Pratt. Isn't he Parks and Rec too? He
Yeah,
probably
Parks
gets
and
some
Rec.
points. He probably gets some big points for Parks and Rec.
Is that
Yep.
my guy that was in no, that's not him. What's my man that he was in Jurassic Park and Independence Day too? Wasn't he in Jurassic Park? The
I don't-
glasses?
Oh,
No.
Jeff Goldblum.
No,
yeah.
you're thinking of
Jeff-
No. Yeah, Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, he was in and Jeff Goldblum was in The Fly.
He's got the Fly. Yeah.
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 Which The Fly 1, 2, and 3, right?
Well, there's got to be a Sigourney Weaver one somewhere. Was she in The Fly?
No, she's
She
an
was
alien.
What is the fly?
Alien, and then she's also
Fly? The guy turns
Oh.
into a fly.
I mean,
It's a shoot.
kind of familiar with it.
Yeah, it's an 80s movie. The dude legit turns into a fly.
Yeah, so he had a machine where he could ship himself from one place to the next.
Yep.
Like, and a
But
fly
like-
flew in, and so it basically
Ladies
like
movies, man. You guys talk about them, but damn.
80s movies are wild.
no, the fly was like big time mainstream like
Oh,
sci-fi
yeah.
flick. Yeah, huge. And then it's a little on the scary side too.
I like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids better.
Oh, Alien and Ghostbusters. Good call, Lucky. That's a good one.
Who did
yeah,
that?
Oh
Sigourney
yeah,
Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver. Yeah.
I knew she had to have had another franchise out there.
Well, that and she's Avatar.
Is she really?
Yeah.
I've never seen Avatar.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
Either-
yeah. She's in Avatar 1 and 2.
I've
I've only
meant to
seen
watch
one.
Avatar 27 times. and
One
I've
is
never
really
gotten
it's a weird movie.
it. Yeah. All right. Hang on, Hammer.
Yep.
Oh, this is one of my favorite discussions ever. Like Bruce Willis has to have one, right?
Die Hard and
He's got to have another one. We were discussing. I don't for reasons known to no human being on Earth. Kenny Caraway blurted out, "I don't think we talk about Keanu Reeves enough."
That was
I don't
random.
think he gets his respect.
Now we're trying, and we can't.
Because we talked about the two franchises that he has that are just monumental.
And I believe, but to be fair to Kenny, he didn't just blurt that out. James is going to see John Wick 4 later, but the John Wick series and the Matrix series, and now we've just been running through actors and actresses who have multiple series, like franchises.
Somebody said Vin Diesel with Triple X. Absolutely not.
No, Triple X.
Triple X is not.
I mean, you can have
Fast is one of the greatest franchises of all time.
The 10 Fast, but
Triple X, no, not getting
That's funny.
Who does
does the Rock?
Well, I was gonna say, you got the Rock with
Fast,
and then are we counting him with like the Shobbs and Hobb?
No, because that's Fast.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's spinoff. It's spinoff. That's right.
And I don't think he did more than one G.I. Joe. I don't think
Scorpion King, the Mummy.
No,
you don't get credit for that.
No, I don't think he has one.
Oh, Mark Wong. Wow. Eddie got 3. Eddie with Beverly Hills Cop, Nutty Professor, and throw Shrek in there too.
Oh, Shrek for sure. Yeah, that's a good
Eddie
call.
got 3.
It all comes back to Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy is the GOAT. We have established that. Eddie Murphy is the GOAT. What we saw.
Well, no, I was going to talk about the Kings.
Yeah, I was just going to say what we saw over the weekend wasn't the GOAT.
It was not the GOAT. Absolutely not. But I wanted to see Mr. James first. And I want to know what James has to say about it. I wanted him to win yesterday like everybody else. I want him to clinch that Pacific Division, handle business, beat a team like the Spurs. Come on, that's what you want to do. I'm of the belief none of it really matters. It doesn't really matter. Like, I've been saying this for about 2 weeks. It doesn't matter. Like, all that matters is how they perform in the playoffs. And I understand you want to prepare yourself the best you can by playing good basketball and all this other stuff. But if they would have won yesterday, they would have finished the season off winning their final 5 games of the season. That wouldn't matter. All that matters is, are you ready to go game 1 of the first round? It's all that matters. I know it's frustrating. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, what you don't want to do is back into the playoffs. Like, you don't want to go in having a bunch of question marks. You don't want to go in with a lack of confidence. And a game like yesterday, a game, like the way that they're playing defensively, the fact that you only have one more home game, I think that you could see an issue with confidence if they string together like a bad stretch here. You're trying to avoid that bad stretch that Denver just is coming out of, and like some of these other teams have gone through this season. You don't want to have that as your last 5 games of the season. Like, that's not at all how you go into the playoffs and have success. And like, look, there's only one more home game, but they need to figure that out. Like, I wrote it today, like the playoffs don't start until the visiting team wins a game, right? That's kind of the old adage. Well, like, if you lose one of the first 2 games and you blow home court advantage because you didn't learn something basic, like how to use the momentum of your own crowd and be as good at home as you are on the road,
that's okay. They'll get it back in 3 and 4.
That's true.
They went on the road.
Yeah.
Because what if no road team ever wins?
Well, series never began. But the crazy part is if it's the Warriors, the games at the Chase Center could be like 81-80. These 2 defensive juggernauts where the Warriors play really good defense at home and the Kings play really good defense on the road. We could have a Pistons Spurs throwback here.
Yeah, like, I just, I like momentum. Momentum is big in sports. And I agree. Like, when you guys say, well, if the series never started, yeah, a 4-0 sweep, that's not a series. That's a butt whooping. So you're right. It never starts. And that's what you're trying to avoid. Like, this team doesn't have the experience, so they need to find ways to like find that experience or to overcome that experience. And one of those ways could be momentum, like go in with all kinds of positive momentum and feeling good and go in there and act like it's just another game.
But what if you lose game 1? Then you realize, oh, none of that stuff mattered in the regular season. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, and I want them to play perfect in the final 4 games. I get it, but they're at the stage right now where there's not really anything to chase. There's not really anything to lose, so to speak. You have to be ready on that Saturday or Sunday evening or afternoon for game 1, because that's what I'll put it on the flip side. Rest in peace, flip side. They were to lose the last 4 games. What's everybody going to be saying, at least in that locker room? None of that matters. It's all about the playoffs now. New season. That's what they're going to say. So.
No, you're right. They can say that all they want. It is a new season, and there's truth to that statement. But at the same time, that's just not the way you want to go in. It's not. So, yeah, I'm hoping that they, if they go in like that, it would really put a lot of pressure on, like, is this just a mystical one and done? And like, oh, like, are they just going to get run? And that's, you're up against that, you don't want that as like the narrative with you that, every team is basically circled you and said, is there any way we can match up with the Kings? And the Kings, to a certain extent, they have to take ownership of that. They understand no one's been there. And, if they want to they want to say, oh, well, we've got Delhi, we've got Harrison. Like we talked about this, Harrison Barnes hasn't been in the playoffs in 7 years. Like that was a whole nother lifetime ago in NBA standards. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they respond.
I think it's going to be interesting, Hammer, to see how they respond tomorrow. Because Mike had a lot to say in the post-game press conference. As you posted, De'Aaron Fox had some things to say in the post-game press conference. Like the defensive issues aren't like not known on that roster. And De'Aaron made that very, very clear yesterday when he said the alarm has been sounding on the defense for a while. We just haven't answered it. No one's got up to hit the snooze button or to turn it off. And it's like, okay, so we're all aware of an issue, but how are you going to handle that issue? And I think they have an opportunity to do. This is a huge game for the Pelicans. I think that's something that can quickly be lost on Kings fans who are just wanting this to end with no injuries. This is a massive game for the Pelicans, given where they are now with the Lakers, with the Clippers, and with the Golden State Warriors.
Well, and they come back and they play Dallas the next day, and Dallas is a game out of the playoffs right now. Like,
and they may want to stay there.
The ship be sinking.
Yeah, that's a mess. But that's not what they want. They want to get in the play-in and then somehow find their game, and like, here we go.
Well, good luck to them on that.
Well,
it's like what we were talking about with the Kings.
Good luck playing defense in the playoffs. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, James. We'll know, but we've talked about this for months. We asked you on the show, do you think the Kings defense can get better? Do you think the Kings defense can get better? Do you think it can get better before the playoffs? Now here we are in game 77, and I understand it was frustrating to lose to the San Antonio Spurs, but to give up 142, why are you surprised by that? No one should be surprised by that. We've seen it happen this year. They have given up a large number of points to a large number of teams. They just normally shoot better than 25% from 3. And yesterday afternoon, they shot 25% from 3. Nothing is changing tomorrow, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, game 1. The Kings hit their season average of threes, they'll be in great shape. They don't, they're going to have to do something they haven't done very often. It's not something they haven't done at all, but it's something that they haven't done very often, and that's find a different way to win a game.
Yeah. No, they have to. They've got to figure it out. But this team has 47 wins.
Right.
I mean, they have found a lot of different ways to win this year, and they've shown like some incredible stuff. Like I went through like all of their advanced numbers, looking at like offensive rating, defensive rating, quarter by quarter. Like their net rating in the first quarter is horrible, and it's like a negative 1 point something. That's the only quarter where they have a negative net rating. The second quarter, they're okay. The third quarter and fourth quarter, they're one of the best teams in basketball. The second half, they're probably a top 3 team in the league as far as net rating, as far as offensive versus defensive rating. And that's always what's going to frustrate Mike. It's what's going to frustrate everybody. It's that they just have an ability to turn it on and play a different way for stretches. And then sometimes they don't. And look against the Spurs, where like clearly they didn't want to lose that game. They wanted to win that game and they just couldn't. And so I thought it was interesting just to watch it all fall apart the way it did. But again, like each of these moments, I think the good thing is Mike Brown takes it as an opportunity to like hammer down again just basic points that he has all season long, that this is like, this will be our undoing. If you guys don't understand that this is what we're up against, if you think it's funny that we somehow make it to the playoffs as one of the worst defensive teams in the league, and then we get to the playoffs and we just get thumped because of it, you guys are going to learn a lesson there. So why don't we learn the lesson before we get there? You know, it's kind of like what I always tell my boys. Like, you don't have to be the one who makes a mistake to learn from it. You can watch somebody else make a mistake. You can tell them, don't do that. But, you know, if your friends or some want to make a mistake, you can learn from that mistake yourself without having to make it. And I think the Kings are in that range. Like, they need to start learning from their mistakes, but also like they don't have to keep making these mistakes. They can just play better. And it, again, I'll go back to what Mike says. It's not about the X's and O's. It's about how hard they play. It's about the second effort. You know, it's about defensive rebounding. Like, all of those things, those are things that they work on and they know what they're supposed to do. They're just not doing it. Like, how many times in the last like 3 weeks have we watched Keegan Murray fly out of nowhere for an incredible offensive rebound? And it's like, hey, look at that. That's new. That was something that they showed us when they got all the media on the court before the season started. One of the basic tenets was that the crash zone from the guys standing in the corner, that's what they should have been doing all year. And we're just now seeing it from Keegan, and we still don't see it from most of the other guys. So it's just interesting how some of these things take and some of them don't.
You know, James, one of the things that I really loved from Mike Brown last night was him, you know, kind of challenging that team a little bit, talking about him a little bit, where he said, hey, if I was another coach, I was coaching another team, yeah, I'd be targeting the Kings too.
Yeah.
I look at him that way too. And I love him saying that about his team and to his team, you know, in a situation like this where, you know, they at least for one night seem to be proving everybody right, you know, who had those type of doubts about them. I think that there's a scenario where it's kind of good that all this is happening now, as opposed to like losing game 1 or 2 or both, then having to get your mind right then. The fact that you see right now, you're not invincible. You're not invincible in the worst way possible. Well, one of the worst teams in basketball can beat you if you're not locked in. I think there is a world where this happening right now is great for the Kings.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think like if there's anything that I've learned from Mike Brown this season, it's that if I were ever to go back to like coaching and, you know, and Kenny, I know you coach your son, is that his ability to take something out of every single moment and making it a coaching moment, whether it's good or bad, and a way for his team to get better, like it never stops. And there's like a point of where this team is like, they're really, really good, but you want them to be more and you want them to think of themselves as more the entire time. And I like that Mike keeps moving the goalposts and keeps saying, okay, this is fine, but like at this point in the season, we're this good. We shouldn't keep talking about us just being like the first year together and all that stuff. We're already that good. So let's talk about what's next and let's get better at what's next. And I think again, you could not have found a more perfect coach to put in this position and to lead this team. It's just the perfect coach for the perfect moment in time. And like, who knows how long this run lasts for this group. But again, I just think he was absolutely the right guy. His vision for today, his vision for tomorrow, and his ability to change what his vision is for today and blend it with what the vision should be for tomorrow, but we're past that, is something I think is special.
Well, they got only a handful of games left here before this postseason starts, and something most of us didn't see coming. They won't be playing to start the postseason. They're actually going to have a significant amount of time off before playing their first game. And we know 50 wins, win as many games as possible. Do you think they approach this? And I don't disagree with that. I just think we're entering a unique 2-game stretch in which it is a back-to-back at the very, very end of the season. Do you think Mike manages that a little bit differently than he might have 2 months ago?
I think he'll probably manage it differently than he thought he would have last week. He does not want this team going in playing poorly. He's going to fix it now. And again, if that cost him down the road, it cost him down the road. But like the way this team has been able to get through this season is by playing every day, by practicing every day, by going as hard as they can, leaving it all out there, playing guys big minutes on the second night of a back-to-back, all that stuff. Like let's not break their tradition. Let's not break their rhythm and their game prep and all that stuff. You go ahead and finish this thing out like you played it the whole season. And there was a point where it's like, okay, I'll probably let off, but I don't know that that's going to be the case because you certainly don't want to go in with a 5-game losing streak. That's not at all how you envision this. And like, let's be honest, Mike knows this very well, and Kings fans might not like hearing this either. Your team is not good enough on the defensive end. They have to keep working to get better. And if they don't keep working to get better, it's not just magically going to happen. And so why not keep coaching? Why not keep playing it? Because I'd rather leave it all out there than have regrets that you didn't address something down the stretch because you might have needed to get a player 10 minutes of rest in a game that, he was more than willing to play 40 minutes in, and you just thought you needed to rest him.
Should have asked you. Sorry. Do you have anything on Malik?
No, not yet. Now I didn't even think about it because I was writing all day.
I mean, nothing has come through. Not that I would expect it to, given they're probably traveling. But
they also, the injury report should be out for tomorrow. Well, technically they don't have to put out an injury until 5:30, I think. I haven't looked. I am looking right now, but it's funny that you mentioned that he's questionable for tomorrow with lower leg soreness.
Okay.
And Alvarado and Zion are out. EJ Liddell is out.
That last week of the season thing for Zion is
we're here.
I'm starting to wonder. Yeah, I don't mean to laugh. I want Zion to work out, but
yeah,
gracious almighty. Do you think they missed? Terrence played really well on the offensive end, but there's an intangible that Malik has that I don't think anyone else on the roster has. Do you think they missed that yesterday? That voice that Mike was talking about in the post-game press conference?
I think they missed him like they miss every player that goes out. Again, I think a lot of people like I love watching Malik play. He brings so much energy and everything else. He also I like when he's hot, shooting wise, he's really unstoppable. But I like when he's setting guys up, when he gets downhill and starts doing the 2-man game. They missed him. They missed his voice a little bit. But I also this is a really, really solid team from top to bottom. And that's not an excuse that I would make for this team. They just didn't come out and take an opponent seriously. And they got beat because they didn't do it. And they haven't done that so many times this year. But I think as people who've covered the teams and fans who have watched this team forever, it's such a normal thing for this team that you almost have a little PTSD about it, about not taking teams seriously. And that's not who has been the identity of this team this season. They've had a couple of slip-ups, but every team in the league loses here and there. I mean, what is it? Boston's lost to the Orlando Magic 3 or 4 times. So
probably worth pointing out, Malik still was very vocal yesterday.
Yeah.
He just wasn't on the floor.
Yeah, he was out there.
Yeah, he was.
It felt like if it was a playoff game, he would have been able to.
Well, all right. Calm down, Alvin. Calm down, Alvin.
Yeah, one of those deals. If it were a playoff game, we've heard that a few times.
I just hope Mike doesn't go to the podium and say we're not going to quit.
Oh no!
As long as Mike doesn't go to the podium and say we're not going to quit, I think we're all okay. But of course, we hope that they play better tomorrow, and we hope that you go become a premium subscriber Over at thekingsbeat.com, you just heard James say he's got a new piece that's going to post here pretty soon. Some of that stuff you can get just by being a regular subscriber, but the good stuff, well, you got to pay for that. So head over to thekingsbeat.com, become a premium subscriber. Make sure you're subscribed